If you are just starting to use Photoshop, this video is for you. Photoshop is an amazing tool, but as it's a tool for all graphic artists, it can be used in many different ways. Today, I want to show you the basics of Photoshop for photographers. You will also find different resources in the description. So let's start. Here I opened Photoshop. So I'm using the last version of Photoshop, which is Adobe Photoshop 2025. And here, as you are a photographer, what you want to do is to do open, and then you can choose an image. So if you want to use a JPEG image, here's what's going to happen. So you just click on your image and you click open, and doing it that way, you make sure that the canvas is the size of your image. Now, let's say you want to open a photo that is not a JPEG, this is a raw image. So we are going to do that together so you see how that works. So let's see. So here I am shooting with a Sony, so this is a .ARW. So I'm going to click open. So I select it, I click open. And here, what's happening is that it's happening Camera Raw. Camera Raw is a software that allows you to develop your RAW before opening it inside of Photoshop. So Camera Raw, it's exactly the same thing as Lightroom, but inside of Photoshop. So here I'm going to do just basic adjustments. So here we can see that my photo is a little overexposed in the highlights, so not something I would recommend, but here we are just looking at how Photoshop works, so it's not a big deal. I'm not going to explain you in depth how Camera Raw works because it's really similar to Lightroom. Let me know in the comments if you are interested about knowing more about Lightroom or Camera Raw, and I might do another video about that. So then what I'm gonna do is to click open object. That's very important, but once again, it's a question of workflow, not really related to how Photoshop works. But if you click on open to object, it allows you to come back to Camera Raw with the same setting that you did. So which means that you can change the setting once again, so that is non-destructive. If you are interested to know what that means, I'm gonna add a link to the video where I explain that. Now I am inside of Photoshop and we can see our photo is here. Here, this is our layer panel. What it means is that here we're gonna be able to add more layer. What is a layer? Think of it like a piece of paper, and on top of it you add more paper, which means that you can always come back to the previous step. If I click here, I'm adding empty layers where there is nothing on it. Let's say I'm going to draw something like this, and on top of it I'm gonna change color. I'm adding something like this. If I change the organization, like I take the thing where I brush something in gray and I put it on top, you see how that works? You can change the position of your layers. This one, nothing is happening because this is empty. We can see that because this is only like white with little gray square, but yeah, that's it. So I'm going to delete that. Here on this layer panel, what you can do is also to add adjustment, and this is what you are going to be interested in. Because this is what will allow you to edit your photo. So you have hue and saturation and more. If you don't see this panel here, you go to window and you click on adjustment, and you are going to see all the adjustment. So what is interesting for you, this is the single adjustment. If you see this panel like this, click on single adjustment and you are going to see all that. I would say that what is really important for you is hue and saturation, brightness and contrast, curves, color balance, selective color, gradient map, and eventually color lookup. For the rest, in photography, in my opinion, you don't need the rest. Now there is always different ways to do things, but in the way I edit, and I go very far in the edits, I don't use much the rest of the adjustments. So once you clicked on your adjustment, it's going to be added on your layer panel. Then if you click here on the little logo of the adjustment layer, you're gonna see the properties, and this is where you are going to be able to do some changes. So here you can see I can just adjust the brightness and the contrast of my photo. As you can see, there is a little rectangle that is linked with my adjustment. And what is this little rectangle? This is a mask. A mask allows you to hide a part of the adjustment from one specific area of your photo. This is very important, and that is what is going to help you to work really on details on your photo. So let's say I want this adjustment to affect only this little shop here, this little wall. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to paint with black everything else. So I'm painting, and now, so I'm doing it very quickly, but now what's happening is that my adjustment is available only on the shop. So let me explain this a little more further. On a mask, what you need to remember is that everything that is black is not showing, it's hidden. And everything that is white, this is where the adjustment is going to show. So here we can see this area here, this is white on the mask, which means the adjustment is affecting only this area. Everything that is black is hidden. So how I see the mask, I just click on option, click on the mask. This is how I see the mask only. So this is how mask works. Now you have some different tools here on the side. This is the tool bar, and that's also something that is very important for you photographer. So here we have different tools. Here the move tool that will allow you to move things around on your image. Then we have the mark tool, or M on your keyboard. And by the way, I'm gonna add a keyboard sheet on the description of this video. If you want to download it, that is free. What is going to allow you is to make selection in a rectangle form. So here, let's say I want to maybe duplicate only this part. What I do is that I click on my photo, I do Command G, and this part only is duplicated, and I can even, if I choose the move tool, V on my keyboard, I can even move it like this, okay? It's something that might be more interesting for those who want to do compositing in photography. Otherwise, I don't think you are going to use it that much. Something that can be interesting is the object selection tool. That works pretty well most of the time. So as you can see, you need to click on your photo and then just see if you want to select the sky, for example, just click on the sky and it's going to select it for you. And then you can maybe take an adjustment, color balance. And because this was selecting, so you could see, we can see there is a selection going on. When you see that, you go to adjustment and you click on your adjustment and it's going to create a mask automatically. So here you can see it's selected automatically the sky because this is white, everything else is hidden. So now if I click on my adjustment layer, double click, I make some adjustments. It's selecting the sky only, okay? So this is the object selection tool, W on your keyboard. Here you have the crop tool, which is interesting if you want to crop your image. You can change the ratio here. So for us, oops, it's not interesting. So here, to come back to what I was doing before, just Command Z like any other software. We have the eyedropper tool. It's interesting if you want to have information on one specific color. So for example, here, if I go on the wall and I look at my color panel here, I can see that is a kind of orange here, that's a blue. So that's interesting to have information about color. This is I on your keyboard. Then you're gonna have all the tools for cleaning your image, the spotting brush tool, the remove tool, and the healing brush tool. those three are important for photographers. I never use the three last ones. So if I was you, I wouldn't bother about those ones. But yeah, remove tool might be the easiest one to use. If that doesn't work, I would recommend to use the spotting brush tool first. Healing brush tool is interesting, but usually I find it more interesting for skin retouching, for example, because it will allow you to sample a texture. So yeah, that's something that is a bit more advanced. But for the basics of Photoshop, I would use the remove tool. And the thing you can do is to just create a new layer. Make sure that this is checked, sample all layers. And please always create a new layers and don't clean on your photo directly, because if you make a mistake, you're gonna have to start again from zero. This is why Photoshop is very interesting, that it works with layers. It means that we can work in a non-destructive way and always go back in steps. So here, I'm making my brush bigger. The way I do it is that I press Ctrl Option and then I go to the right to make it bigger, to the left to make it smaller. And let's say I want to delete this part. I'm just going to brush over it. And this is gone. Very easy to do. And you can see before and after, because I did that on a new layer with the sample all layers checked. That means it's going to sample everything that is under this layer. And now this area is gone. This is cleaned. So yeah, this is the remove tool, G on your keyboard. This is pretty much the same with the spot healing brush tool. The difference is that the remove tool, this is AI generated, and the spot healing brush tool, this is another technology. Then you have the brush tool. Brush tool is very important when you work with mask, especially with black and white. So here you can see I have different color. If I want to go back to black and white, I just click D on my keyboard and it comes back to the default color, black and white. If I want the white to be on top, I just click X and this is white. So here you can see I'm brushing white, Command Z, and then X on my keyboard, and I'm brushing black. So very important to use your keyboard shortcuts, so that way you can be focused more on what's happening on your photos, on the creativity, instead of looking around and breaking your flow by just looking for the tools in the toolbar and not looking at your photo. Then here you have the eraser tool. Might be interesting if, for example, you deleted something you didn't want. You go on your layer and you just erase the thing that you want to get back. That's another reason why you need to work on layers. If I did that, I'm going to show you. If I did that directly on the photo and that I erase, well, I am just erasing the photo directly. So that's not possible. That's why you need to work on layers. And that's pretty much it. This is the basics of Photoshop with only what I showed you today. You can already do really advanced edits in Photoshop. If you only understand what is a mask and how to use the different adjustments, you are already better than a lot of photographers inside of Photoshop. So what I recommend to you is to open your Photoshop and try out all the different adjustments to see how they work. Try to make selection with the different tools, try to create a mask, and then once you master that, you can really start to learn all the advanced technique in Photoshop.